Is everyone good? Welcome to the Gold Coast's, Queensland's newest eco-parklands. The 148 hectares here at Currumbin, now acquired by the Palaszczuk government to be protected for community use. And today we're starting community consultation about just what we should use this site for. As I say, 148 hectares. It's not often you get the chance to protect a space that large with these kinds of environmental values. And so we want to plan really closely with the community what we do here to make sure we get the best benefits from it for both the community and the local environment. We know there is koala habitat here, and that's why we've got Ginger and the team from Currumbin Wildlife Hospital. So that will probably be an element of what we do. There are areas that we will rehabilitate, but then there will be large areas that are available for other community uses. Sport, mountain biking, shared use facilities, picnic areas, day areas, maybe even a campground for educational use. So this is a long-term plan to make sure that we get it right. A very large and legacy project that we're very proud to be a part of. I want to acknowledge the role of Friends of Currumbin, who I know have been campaigning for this for a long time. The Gold Coast Environment Council, GECO, they're here with us as well. My friend, Kaylee Kemprat, who when she was the Labor candidate for this area, worked really hard to put the case to us that this land should be protected. And of course the Premier, who when she heard that case from Kaylee, said that we should make an election commitment and then tasked me when we were re-elected to secure the land and then start this master planning process. So I'm incredibly excited. It's beautiful down here, and this is a real chance for us to make a massive difference, a great contribution to the local environment and facilities that will be used by locals and visitors and tourists.
Thank you, Deputy Premier. On behalf of the Friends of Currumbin and more generally the wider Currumbin community, I would like to thank you and your government colleagues for honouring a pre-election promise that you referred to negotiate with the owners to acquire this iconic parcel of land. It's not just a 46 hectare parcel of endangered blackbutt ecosystem, but there are many other attributes to this particular parcel of land. For over 3 decades, Friends of Currumbin have been striving to stop an inappropriate series of changing developments on a rural parcel of land and on a floodplain. And it really floods when it floods, if people can recall the 2005 flood event. What we'd like to do is to acknowledge that you have now acquired the Currumbin Eco-Parkland, and we look forward to working with Economic Development Queensland in the new year in a series of workshops to look at the preparation of a master plan that will embrace the best strategy outcomes in relation to environment, to recreation. I'd like to see the Indigenous culture also to be included, and ecotourism opportunities. So we really look forward to that, and on behalf of the community, many thanks to your government.
Any questions?
Stephen, it was just in September that the former owners here were saying they were going to start work on the development. How challenging was the negotiations to take over this property?
Look, it's not unusual when government wants to acquire land that there is a bit of to and fro with the owners, with the property developers. That's happened, and there's still some process there to play out. But the Palaszczuk government has now acquired this site, and so we can get to work protecting and improving it.
Is the government considering changing the requirements to get into Queensland, and notably the PCR test requirements?
So the Premier has addressed that this morning at her daily COVID update. I understand there'll be some discussion about it at National Cabinet. Obviously, I'm not going to preempt any of that. The settings that we have in place right now are designed to throttle the number of seeding events coming into the state. You've seen already, in just a few days, a very rapid escalation in the number of cases, and so we need to see how that plays out before we make any further changes.
Are you concerned to hear potentially bookings are being cancelled in Cairns because people aren't getting their results in time?
Look, I am concerned to hear that, but I also know that the number of people getting tests in New South Wales for travel is roughly 10% of the total number of tests. So the delays there aren't driven by our need for tests, they're driven by the sheer number of people seeking tests. The number of people needing them for travel is a very small proportion.
The Commonwealth has threatened to pull some of the funding from Queensland unless it drops some of the rules. What do you make of that?
Well, look, it was only a couple of weeks ago that Greg Hunt and the Commonwealth are committed to continue to supporting our testing regime. They did that in writing and after a pretty bizarre campaign in the media. So I think it would be surprising if they went back on that. If we had rapid antigen tests available and they were endorsed by the AHPPC, well, that's something we could consider down the track. We could discuss down the track, but right now, PCR tests are the requirement.
The Premier says only 10% of people getting tested in New South Wales are doing so for a border pass. That's still 15,000 people a day. Surely that's adding unnecessary strain to an already overrun testing clinics.
If you think about the sheer number of tests being done in New South Wales, yes, that adds to the load, but it's a very small proportion.
Just on the vaccine certificates to get into businesses, there is some reports that people are buying fake vaccine certificates online to use. Are you concerned about that, and what would the consequences be if someone was caught with something like that?
Look, there are probably legal ramifications for that, and I'm certainly happy to talk to the police about it, but it would be very disappointing if people were using counterfeit certificates to get around what is essentially a public health measure designed to keep them safe. It's designed to benefit them and the other people at venues that they go to, and so it would be very disappointing if people did that. My experience throughout the pandemic, though, is that actually the vast majority of people will do the right thing, do the right thing, and so, if this is occurring, I expect it would be very rare.
Are any health staff or emergency officers, paramedics, police being asked to come back from holidays to man up resources?
Look, I'm not across kind of individual rostering for those kind of situations. We have seen some impacts where close contacts have been required to isolate. The pressure, some of that pressure will come off now that that isolation requirement has been reduced from 14 days to 7 days. And our emergency services, our health services, our ambulance services, they're very good at managing their available staff and their rosters.
A small minority are continuing to cause hassle over mask and vaccine requirements at businesses. What is your message to them?
Well, first of all, don't take it out on the businesses or the staff. It's not their fault, and they're not. It's not their job to face that kind of criticism. We've said to them that if they have any trouble, they should call the police and leave it in the hands of the police.
New government data shows there's about $1 billion Queenslanders owe to Spur. How's the government planning on recouping that money?
I'm happy to look into the current levels of Spur debt. There are well-established systems in place there designed to both recoup debt but also provide people with options if they're unable to pay what they owe to the state.
With debt levels that high, do you think reforms are needed to try and fix that situation?
Look, they're probably questions that are better addressed to the Treasurer. I know there are some reform measures already underway there, but I'm really not briefed today to talk about Spur.
Deputy Premier, this acquisition here is probably equal in importance to the SPIT and the SPIT master plan. Can we expect a consultation process similar to the SPIT master plan?
Yeah, so the consultation process we're delivering here includes an online and virtual component which people can log in and do now, as well as workshops in the new year where people can get a bit more deeper into the plans. We're developing a master plan for 10 or 15 years, not unlike, as you say, we've done at the SPIT, and I think you've seen how well we can do that, even though everything won't necessarily be budgeted for and funded up front. We'll be able to have a long-term vision and then work through it in stages.
When do you expect the eco-park to be completed by? Like, when could we see it finished?
Look, we want to keep building upon it. So this is a 15-year plan, 10 or 15-year plan that will build on over time. But the important thing is it's secured now. If we hadn't secured it, then we possibly never could. The opportunity may have been lost. And so now that we have the land, there's some early works that we'll need to do to make sure that it's safe and accessible, appropriately accessible, and then we'll be able to stage out that planning. Where part of the consultation will be around what we should get done first versus what we can work on over time. We can see how the park gets used over time, and often these plans can change. If you look at other locations where we've master planned over decades. So look, this is, I think, a really exciting moment for the Gold Coast, and I'm excited to be a part of it.
So to phrase that a different way, when can people start to enjoy the facilities?
Well, they can come down right now. Peter might be a better place. Do you want to say?
Well, we might just stick with the if you guys have more questions.
Will some of the statement link in with the Olympics, with the timing of the Olympics, Deputy Premier?
Well, it could well do. Over the next 10 years, we're going to be delivering a lot of community facilities. So who knows what we might do.
Has there been done any testing around the soil quality of this area? Locals have raised concerns around sulphate levels.
We'll be doing that.
Well, I'm told we'll be doing that in the new year. I have a very broad brief. Soil testing. Great.
Could I just answer the question in relation to when can we start to recreate here? We can do it now. We've got security here, we've got gates that are open, and right through the stand of Blackbutt are a series of tracks which are quite safe in terms of grading. They're probably 1 and 2. As well as that, there is a very long southern boundary to New South Wales, and the border track is up there, and there are a number of gates from the border track into this property. So there are some wet areas down on the floodplains, but it can be enjoyed immediately.
Like I was just saying, Stephen, we were talking in September when the plan from the developer was to start work in the following months to start building houses here. How relieved were you when you heard that the state government had managed to acquire the land?
I think I'm lost for words. As you probably know, we have been trying to stop any form of development here for a long time, and it was almost unbelievable because when Friends of Currumbin made a final approach to state government to plead cap in hand to purchase this property, we knew that it was on the market for sale with expressions of interest, not by the owners, the local owners, but by the Brookfield Asset Management, the big Canadian conglomerate. So it was an ideal time to say, let's give it a last shot. Let's present so many ideas that we have been developing and wanting for this iconic land parcel over the years. And I'm still lost for words. I look forward to the input that we can all have.
What do you hope to see here in 15 years' time?
I hope to be able to see something in 15 years' time. I'm a lot older than you think. I've brought our grandchildren here today because as this is rolled out over 10 to 15 years, I'll be watching the development of it, and the benefits will be not only to our generation, but to the younger generations as well as our grandchildren.
When you say something, like, can you elaborate on what you might want to see here in 15 years' time?
I'd certainly like to see the vegetation secured. And when I say secured, not locked up away from the public, but I would like to see maybe the Indigenous groups have a cultural centre here that manage the the trips, trails through the forest, and to educate people as to the history of it. So certainly a big cultural element I'd like to see. A good balance between recreation and ecotourism. There's some opportunities for ecotourism as long as they are extremely low key. And one of the side benefits of this particular development is that as this is being developed, the local community will say, this is drawing the public, so we'll set up our own ecotourism opportunities. They might just be stalls on the side of the road, they might be trails, horse riding, etc. So they're just a few of the things that we'd like to see. The big thing that I was concerned about with the rollout of the M1 upgrade was the loss of 1,595 koala fodder trees, and part of the act is, in terms of finding a replacement for those, is a 3-to-1 replacement. At the moment, Michael and his team are going quite a way off to get constant fodder for the koalas. To set up a 5-hectare koala fodder plantation here would be absolutely ideal, not just for the local Currumbin wildlife, but also for flays. So just another idea there.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well done.
Could I just say one other thing? I'm a member of Friends of Currumbin, and I'm also the convener
Well, come up and